Right now, your jaw can bite down with about 160 pounds of force. That's enough to chew through a steak, crack a walnut, maybe leave a nasty mark on someone's hand if you really tried. You've had that jaw your entire life and never once thought about it. Never once considered whether it was enough. But what if it wasn't? What if, somewhere along the line, evolution made a different choice? What if the jaw sitting in your skull right now was built not like a human's, but like a crocodile's? A saltwater crocodile bites down with 3,700 pounds of force per square inch. Let that number sit for a second. 3,700. Your jaw produces 160. That means a crocodile's bite is roughly 23 times more powerful than yours. 23 times. If you scaled that up to a human face, you wouldn't be biting through steak anymore. You'd be biting through steel, through concrete, through bone like it was warm butter. Now here's where it gets genuinely strange, because this almost happened. Not with a crocodile, but something close enough to make your skin crawl. 2 million years ago, walking across the same African plains your ancestors called home, there was a creature called Paranthropus boisei. Paleoanthropologists nicknamed it Nutcracker Man. And the reason they called it that should make you deeply uncomfortable about what human evolution could have become. Paranthropus boisei had a skull built almost entirely around its jaw, massive cheekbones flaring out to the sides, a bony ridge running along the top of the skull, a sagittal crest, anchoring jaw muscles so enormous they wrapped around the entire top of the head. Its bite force has been estimated at over 1,300 pounds per square inch, 8 times stronger than yours. And it walked upright. It had hands. It looked from a distance almost human. Almost. It went extinct. And the reason it went extinct is the most important thing about this entire story. But first, imagine it didn't. Imagine that instead of Homo sapiens, the winner of the evolutionary lottery was a version of us with the jaw of a crocodile. What does that world look like? What does that body look like? And what does it do to everything else? Here's the problem with a crocodile jaw that nobody talks about. The bite force doesn't come for free. Nothing in evolution ever does. To generate 3,700 pounds of force, a crocodile needs jaw muscles that make up a significant portion of its entire body mass. Its skull is essentially a weapon with a body attached. The bones are thick, dense, and heavy, engineered purely for crushing. That engineering comes at a cost, and that cost is the skull's interior volume. The space inside a crocodile's skull available for a brain is tiny, laughably tiny compared to ours. A saltwater crocodile's brain weighs about 8 grams. Yours weighs 1,400 grams. That's not a small difference. That's a different universe. So here's the brutal trade-off that evolution forced on every creature that ever lived. You can have the jaw or you can have the brain. You cannot have both. The bones required to anchor muscles powerful enough to bite through steel leave almost no room for the neural tissue required to think, plan, create, or imagine. Evolution is not an engineer working toward perfection. It's a series of compromises, each one locking in the next, each one closing off certain futures forever. Your ancestors chose the brain. Paranthropus chose the jaw. Your ancestors are here. Paranthropus is not. But let's say the choice went differently. Let's say the pressure was different. Let's say the environment shifted in a way that rewarded raw, crushing power over cognitive flexibility. What does crocodile jaw humanity actually look like walking around on 2 legs? The skull changes first. To anchor those muscles, the cheekbones have to flare dramatically outward. The top of the skull develops that sagittal crest, the bony ridge you see on gorillas and on Paranthropus, running front to back like a fin. The face becomes wider, flatter, more prognathic, projecting forward. The neck thickens massively to support the heavier skull. The jaw itself drops lower, extending further. When this version of you smiles, it doesn't look like a smile. It looks like a thread. The teeth change too. With that kind of force available, the teeth don't need to be sharp. Sharp teeth are for slicing. When you can crush with 3,700 pounds per square inch, you want flat, dense, broad molars that can pulverize anything placed between them. Seeds that no other animal can crack. Bones that other predators leave behind. Shell, cartilage, fibrous root material so tough that every other creature on the savannah ignores it completely. Suddenly, this version of humanity has access to a food source that nothing else can touch. And here is where the story takes a turn that should genuinely unsettle you. Because access to a unique, reliable food source that requires no tools, no fire, no cooperation, and no planning is exactly the kind of thing that removes the evolutionary pressure to develop those capabilities. If you can eat anything, anywhere, anytime, just by biting down, why develop language to coordinate a hunt? Why develop hands precise enough to nap a flint blade? Why develop the social structures that come from planning, sharing, and dividing labor? The jaw solves the food problem so completely that the brain never gets the pressure it needs to explode into the thing that makes you human. This is the trap. The jaw is so good at its job that it prevents everything else from becoming good at anything. You get a creature that can eat through a femur like a dog, chews a biscuit, but cannot plan tomorrow, cannot remember yesterday in any meaningful way, cannot imagine a version of the world that doesn't yet exist, cannot build, cannot teach, cannot dream. The most sophisticated thing Paranthropus boisei ever did, as far as the fossil record shows, was exist near tools without making them. The tools in the same sediment layers were made by Homo habilis, the brain choosers, the ones who traded jaw for imagination. And Homo habilis went on to become Homo erectus, who went on to become you, sitting here right now watching a video that your 3.7 million year evolutionary journey made possible. Paranthropus ate, and ate, and ate, and then disappeared. But here's the part that should really stop you cold. The crocodile jaw story isn't just about eating, it's about what your body optimizes for, and what that optimization costs you without you ever knowing it's happening. Right now, in your life, there are jaw equivalents everywhere. Things so immediately powerful, so instantly satisfying, so perfectly engineered to solve one specific problem that they quietly kill every other capability you have. The phone in your pocket gives you access to every song, every movie, every person, every fact in human history, on demand, with almost no effort. And because it solves the stimulation problem so completely, the way the crocodile jaw solves the food problem, it removes the pressure to develop the internal capacity to sit with boredom, to let your mind wander into creativity, to tolerate the discomfort that drives real thinking. The jaw is the phone. The brain is everything the phone is slowly making unnecessary. Evolution doesn't warn you when it's making a trade. It just makes it, quietly, over thousands of generations. And by the time the record shows what happened, the creature that lost the trade is gone. Only the fossil remains, only the shape of the skull, the size of the crest, the angle of the jaw, telling the story of a choice that was never consciously made. You got the brain. You got language and fire and art and mathematics and the ability to look up at the night sky and wonder what's out there. You got all of that because some ancestor of yours in some pressured moment on some ancient plane had a smaller jaw than the competition and survived anyway by thinking instead of crushing. The crocodile is still here. It hasn't changed significantly in 200 million years. It found its jaw and it stayed there, perfectly adapted, perfectly locked in, going nowhere. You are the creature that gave up the perfect bite, and in doing so became something the crocodile will never be. Something that can ask what it would have been like if the choice had gone the other way. Something that can look at its own 160 pounds of bite force and understand completely exactly what it cost and exactly what it bought. The jaw that could crush concrete is still in your evolutionary past. It just never made it to your face, and the reason it didn't is the same reason you're here right now, thinking about it.